Good day and welcome. Today we're going to be dealing with BECE 2019 AGRIC Science Past Question 26. Crops that complete their life cycle in a growing season are called dash A. Annual crops, B. Biennial crops, C. Perennial crops, and D. Ephemeral crops. Now we are asked to choose the option which basically describe the crops that complete the life cycle in a growing season. And a growing season simply refers to what? A year. A year is what is a growing season. Now this actually is just briefly like a classification of crops based on their lifespan. This life cycle, it just was classification of crops based on lifespan. And based on this classification, the crops can be classified into what? The annual crops. We have the annual crops, we have the biennial crops, the perennial crops, and then the ephemeral crops. Now we describe them one after the other. Now A here says what? Annual crops. Annual crops, these are just simply crops that complete their life cycle within 1 year. They complete their life cycle within 1 year. That's for annual crops, meaning that these crops, they germinate, they grow to maturity, produce flowers, seeds, and then die within a year. So their life cycle is just within a year, and that's why we call them the annual crops. Now B here says what? Biennial crops. And biennial crops complete what? Their life cycle in 2 years. Complete life cycle in 2 years. That is, it takes 2 years for them to germinate, grow, produce flowers, seed, and then die. Now option C here says what? Perennial crops. Now perennial crops are crops that takes more than what? 2 years. That is, their life cycle takes more than 2 years. Then the ephemeral crops, these are crops that complete several life cycles. They complete several life cycles in a year. They complete several life cycles in a year. Now, example of annual crops. An example of annual crop include the rice, millets. Example of biennial crops, you have the carrots. An example of perennial crops, you have your mango. And the example of ephemeral crop, you have the tomato. Now the question says crops that complete their life cycle in a growing season, that is in a year. And like I've discussed earlier on, I told you that annual crops, from the word annual, they complete their life cycle, that is, they grow to maturity, they produce seeds, flowers, fruits, and then die in a year. So the answer to this question is actually A, annual crops. Thank you very much and God bless you. Please ensure to subscribe to our channel for more videos.